Well, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for tuning in to Kirk Mid-Morning right here with me, Faith Kaulu. It is indeed quite a very good morning. The sun's out. Today is the 16th of August, 2022. Kenyans already have the information of the president-elect after IEBC's chair, Chebukati, made the declaration yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya. So many things around that we are going to have a look at today on today's program. But right about now, dear viewer, thank you so much for tuning in. Do interact with us on our social media platforms, Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube as well. Remember, our SMS line is 01122000044. Talk to us, tell us, how is the situation wherever you are? Are people already back to work, or is it a ghost city? I'd like to hear from you, as well as how are you adjusting to the information of the president-elect. My name is Faith Kaulu. Stay with us till the end of this program. Definitely a power-packed program. We'll be talking about, matters legality on whether there is a petition in court after the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya chief agent talked about irregularities. We'll look at that in a few, but right about now, let's start with a very sad story of Daniel Musyoka, the Embakasi East returning officer. Now, Daniel Musyoka, who went missing last Thursday, has been found dead. His family confirmed that Musyoka was found dead in Amboseli Park. This is in Kajiado County. Police officers from Loitoktok, Kajiado South Sub-County, confirmed that they received an alert after a body of a middle-aged man was found in the forest. Daniel Mbolu, the returning officer at the East African School of Aviation Tallying Center, disappeared last week Thursday at about 9:45 a.m. However, the killers and the motive are yet to be established. Well, that's a very sad story there. Let's hope that justice will be served and the people behind his killing will be brought to justice. Let's move on to yesterday's big story, which is still trending. Especially people are still talking about it on the socials, when we'll be having a look at some of the tweets on that. Yesterday, Wafula Chebukati, IEBC's chairperson, declared William Ruto the president-elect at the Bomas of Kenya, an event, of course, that was attended by a huge number of the UDA as well as Kenya Kwanza's affiliates, who received that information with a very huge and big celebration. Now, in his acceptance speech, Ruto indicated his struggle to victory. Let's listen in.
To thank my worthy competitor, the Honorable Raila Odinga, for a campaign that we all dwelled on issues and we tried to sell an agenda to the people of Kenya. I want to promise that I will work with all elected leaders and all leaders in Kenya so that we can fashion a country that leaves nobody behind. What the people of Kenya have done, they have assigned us responsibilities. There will be those of us who will be in the executive, but there will be those of us who will oversee what we do in the executive. Those who have done many things against us, I want to tell them that they have nothing to fear. There is no room. There is nothing. There is no room for vengeance. There is no room for looking back. We are looking into the future.
That is Deputy President William Ruto, now President-elect. His acceptance speech yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya. Definitely, it was an event, or rather an occasion. A little bit of chaos right there. Of course, IEBC's Chair Chebukati had promised to make the announcement at 3 p.m., which was rather extended to 6 p.m. with Kenyans waiting anxiously. Definitely, later on, we witnessed 4 other commissioners giving a presser at Serena Hotel in Nairobi, or rather clearly telling Kenyans that they're not part of the declaration, stating that the electoral process was opaque, and they're yet to elaborate what that meant. Of course, making a promise of giving details about the opaque nature of the final electoral process, hopefully by today or a few days thereafter. Indeed, later on, when Wafula Chebukati stepped in at the Bomas of Kenya, there was a bit of an altercation with some of the members from the Azimio Umoja One Kenya making their way to the dais, where Wafula Chebukati as well as other leaders who were at the dais already frisked out immediately for security reasons. Of course, we saw some altercations there about Senator Ledamo Lekina being hurt, where seats were thrown to him. It was an altercation. However, a few moments from that, peace was restored in the auditorium, rather Uchaguzi Hall, where the declaration was being made yesterday. Wafula Chebukati making his way back to the auditorium and making the announcement. We'll be looking at his speech later on, where he confessed that indeed it hasn't been a ride in the park. It has been a difficult time with a lot the good news of President-elect William Ruto being declared by IEBC's Wafula Chebukati as the winner of the presidential seat in Kiambu County, as in Kabarnet. This is in Baringo County. Residents thronged the cities and the markets in huge numbers to celebrate the news of the president-elect. Well, that is Kabarnet town in Baringo County. Kenyans right there yesterday, immediately after the declaration by IEBC's Wafula Chebukati, made their way to the market and the city to celebrate in huge numbers. Now let's cross over to Kiambu County as well, where residents of Kiambu came out in large numbers as well to celebrate the good news of President-elect William Ruto, an area that has proven to be a stronghold of the UDA party. This is according to this year's election.
Tuko na furaha sana juu William Ruto ameshinda. Juu ndio tulikuwa tunatarajia. UDA tosha.
Kwetu ni Nyahururu, nafanya kazi ya biashara hapa Thika na tumefurahi sana. Mungu anafanya kazi yake na Mungu ndiye.
Tunasema aje? Mungu ametuonekania na tumefanya kazi yenye tulikuwa tumeahidiwa. William Samoei.
All right, Kenyans right there excited and wanting to hold President-elect William Ruto accountable of the promises he made during his campaign period. Let's listen in to what President-elect William Ruto had to say when he was declared, the winner of the presidential seat, on his promise to Kenyans.
I want to promise the people of Kenya that I will run a transparent, open, democratic government. And I will work with the opposition to the extent that they provide oversight over my administration. Let me also, at this point in time, acknowledge my boss, the President of the Republic of Kenya. His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, who has worked with me over the last 10 years in various forms. And I want to commit to the people of Kenya that I will build on the foundation that President Kenyatta and I put together and take this country to the next level.
Right, right there, President William Ruto reiterating his promises to Kenyans now that he's the president-elect. Remember, this is Kirk Mid-Morning. Keep it right here. We're taking a very short break, but we'll be back in a few. So definitely keep interacting with us on our socials. That is Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054. Choose life, that you may love the Lord your God.
If you delight yourself in the Lord, He will make you fruitful in whatever season you are in.
Listen to His voice and hold fast to Him.
That as disciples ourselves, we're being invited to be transformed more fully every single day.
In our walk with God, let us know that we are assured victory in every battle.
For the Lord is your life.
Live a pure life. Are you living a righteous life before the Lord? It is possible. People are wondering, can you do without corruption? Yes, I can stand and say it is possible to do without corruption.
Don't miss season 2 of the evening epilogue every day at 9:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
I am not a mistake. Welcome to Kirk Watoto. We're very glad to have you. In this show, we have 4 segments.
I always get excited for this particular moment when we raise generation for Christ.
You know that Jesus loves you so much and He has given you talents.
The aim of this program is to make sure that it nurtures your talent.
By then kuwa na baraka si pesa mingi, ni kuwa na Yesu ndani ya moyo wako na kujipenda na kujua ya kwamba you are not a mistake.
Wow! Let's do this. Let all the children come to me, because in the name.
Families should be the epitome of love. But in recent times, this seems like a dream, because all we're witnessing is rape cases, high divorce rates, betrayal, and even murder.
So you have to protect her.
Do you say maintaining marriages because easy?
There are also many who are going through issues in their marriages and they can't run to anybody.
The issue of killing, the issue of murder seem to be on the rise.
And that is why we bring you Transforming Families, where we are all about just that, transforming families.
Celestine Kemunto. I'm taking a bachelor's in business information technology. I chose ZTech because, first of all, ZTech has been ranked among the best in ICT, and I thought it will be best. It will be best for my course. First of all, we have there are so many ICT labs in ZTech University, which enables students, mostly those who are pursuing IT courses, to get to know more about their courses. Of which the labs have so many computers which have Ethernet, which is easier for them to browse. If I were given a chance to choose another university, I'll definitely choose ZTech University.
Apply today. ZTech University. Invent your future.
I'm Celestine Kemunto. I'm taking a bachelor's in business information technology. I chose ZTech because, first of all, ZTech has been ranked among the best in ICT, and I thought it will be best. It will be best for my course. First of all, there are so many ICT labs in ZTech University, which enables students, mostly those who are pursuing IT courses, to get to know more about their courses. Of which the labs have so many computers which have Ethernet, which is easier for them to browse. If I were given a chance to choose another university, I'll definitely choose ZTech University.
Apply today. ZTech University. Invent your future.
Let all the children come to me, because in the name I am not a mistake. I am not a mistake. Welcome to Kakwatoto. We're very glad to have you. In this show, we have 4 segments.
I always get excited for this particular moment when we raise generation for Christ.
You know that Jesus loves you so much, and he has given you talents.
The aim of this program is to make sure that it nurtures your talent.
By then kuwa na baraka si pesa mingi, ni kuwa na Yesu ndani ya moyo wako na kujipenda na kujua ya kwamba you are not a mistake.
Wow! Let's do this. Let all the children come to me, because in the name.
Alright, welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it right here. Keep interacting with us on our socials, that is Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. Right about now, I am joined by Biko Ashioya, an advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for making time and being here with us. I think what Kenyans are waiting for, finally, they have the news of the president-elect. This is after yesterday's declaration by IEBC's chair, Wafula Chebukati.
Right.
Let's start with what's your reaction about that?
Now, the declaration by that is the National Returning Officer Wafula Chebukati. Of course, if you ask me, it's something that was expected, because if you look at the tallies that the IEBC had undertaken for the last 2 days, it indicated very clearly that then the person on the lead was His Excellency, the Deputy President, who is now the President-elect. And so therefore, apart from the last almost 41 constituencies that had not been tallied as of the last day yesterday, then the constituencies that had been tallied, definitely the Deputy President was on the lead. And so it took others by surprise. Of course, those ones who were Azimio leaning, but then for those ones who are UDA leaning or Kenya Kwanza leaning, then it is something, and that is why you saw even in the auditorium yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya, the majority of the people who were there and who are jubilating and who are very excited about that whole moment there were Kenya Kwanza supporters.
Yeah.
So it is something that Kenyans generally have taken in with a lot of with a stride of maturity, and that is why you see there's a lot of calm in the country even as we are speaking right now. So it's a good indicator, especially on the part of Kenyans.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is indeed a good indicator as we see Kenyans are slowly going back to work. Of course, cautious of the environment and how those who did not support the president-elect are reacting to the declaration. Let's talk about the whole tallying process. You've mentioned that the process was quite transparent with the forms accessible to Kenyans at large. Speaking about the whole process from the beginning, from the day of the election, August 9th, to yesterday, what can you say about that?
We've experienced an electoral process this year that has been what I would want to call above bar. It's been conducted quite well, actually, because I had the opportunity of being an election observer within Nairobi County, and I had the opportunity of going around so many tallying, not tallying, but polling centers. You would go to particular polling centers or to most polling centers, and you'd find that the lines were quite organized. The security organs were there to ensure that there was tranquility during the voting process. The only challenge that was experienced in most of the polling centers and probably most of the polling stations was on the issue of lighting as at the time of counting. And which thing I think probably when IEBC is doing its post-mortem, it will have the opportunity of then just looking at it, interrogating that whole that whole system of lighting. Yeah. Because most polling centers were primary schools which are not equipped in terms of electricity. So the counting as well went down quite well. And then, of course, the presiding officers have the mandate and the responsibility has been given to them by the Constitution to announce the results at the polling station. Yeah. And so on day one, that is on the 9th of August. We saw several Form 34As being transmitted to the National Tallying Center, or rather to the IEBC portal. So they were very accessible. So insofar as the accessibility of the Form 34s is concerned, then the Form 34As were very accessible. Anyone could access them, and anyone could tally them, and that is why media houses like even Kirk TV had the opportunity of just getting into the IEBC portal, taking those downloading the forms and making a tally of their own. Yeah. So insofar as the transparency of that process is concerned, that is very commendable on the part of the IEBC. And of course, we then from there we cascaded it to the constituency returning officers, MCAs, and members of parliaments. Zao zikaishia hapo, and then we had to go to the county tallying officer, like in Nairobi. Then it was a Kasarani. Yeah. The women reps. And governors and all those and senators, and then ultimately now the whole attention of the attention of the whole country now shifted to Bomas. That was the National Tallying Center. The task there was pretty much very simple. The Form 34As be brought in together with the Form 34Bs for purposes of verification and collation by the national returning officer. So insofar as collation of the results in Form 34A and Form 34B, just making a comparison and seeing that that they tally and that the process down there was duly followed. I would want to believe that the clerks that had been mandated by the that were agents of the national returning officer, that is Chebukati, did quite some good job. It was quite unfortunate, though, that some of the commissioners, the four of them, ultimately came out and said that the process was a bit ambiguous and they wouldn't really want to associate themselves with the final tally. Yeah. That one actually, but in and by itself, speaks quite a lot. Because it speaks to the credibility of the process, and that is why I really had issues when they appeared like there was a commotion at the tail end of the process, because then there must be a meeting of minds. There must be a consensus between the commissioners that whatever it is that we are announcing to the general public is something that has, has received the general consensus of the commissioners.
Yeah.
The effect of that pronouncement by the four commissioners is something that has to be determined by the courts. It's something that any Kenyan, any person who participated in the vote can come out and raise, because then it speaks to the credibility of the process. Yeah. Remember, election is not just about the results. It's about the process. So if the process is faulted, then you can't really give much credence to the final outcome. So and I'm very sure even if the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga will not go to court, any other Kenyan for that matter would has the locus to approach our courts and tell the court, say, look here, this result has even been faulted by the independent institution that we tasked with carrying out that particular mandate. Yeah. So it's a whole mix of things. It's actually too early because the announcement was made yesterday. I'm very sure because now the law stipulates that within 7 days, if there's anyone that is aggrieved, then they can move the court. So we have, today is day one. As from yesterday, we still have 7 more days. Yes. So within these 7 days, I'm very sure so much is going to unfold. Yeah. Yes.
All right. You've brought in the fact of the 4 commissioners. That is Juliana Cherera, of course, the vice chair leading, Justice Nyang'aya, as well as Mr. Wanderi, and Irene Masit. Right. They are making a declaration, or rather a statement, and just saying that they're not part of the declaration because the last process was opaque to them. Yes. Kenyans have questioned on social media because when they were briefing the media as well as Kenyans about the constituencies, verifying the forms, they were all part of it. Yeah. So then let's talk about the statement they made and what does that portray, of course. Many have questioned, do they still deserve to hold office?
They do still deserve to hold office, and in fact, even their disagreement with the final result is well within their constitutional mandate. Okay. They were just performing their work. You see, at the end of the day, there is a difference between a declaration of the final result and the announcement of a particular constituency. Remember that these people were in Bomas they've been there for quite some time, for more than 1 to 3 weeks, right? Yeah. And you would not ordinarily expect that it is humanly possible for someone to stay for 2, 3, 4 days announcing the results, especially for the particular constituencies. Ordinarily, you saw on the very first day it is Chebukati who was doing it, and then thereafter he passed over the mantle to the other commissioners. And so the commissioners' mandate, insofar as declaration of the results were concerned, was specific to specific constituencies, right? And then after you have announced, let's say if there were 4 commissioners or if there were 6 commissioners, you'd find that each one of them probably was tasked with announcing out of the 290 constituencies, maybe let's say on average around 40 constituencies. So I've announced 30 constituencies, you've announced, but then at the end of it all, we have then to sit down and take pen and paper and probably our calculators and say, of all these constituencies that we have announced, what is now they do the computation, right? So insofar as declaration of the individual constituencies, the commissioners do not have a problem with it. Okay. Right? They have a problem with the collation now, with the computation. That is where they have a problem. And so you really can't fault them that, hey, look here, you guys were announcing these things. Why is it that then you're now making a bow turn or a U-turn and then now you are faulting the whole process? So the commissioners are telling you that insofar as the announcement of the individual constituencies is concerned, we have no problem with that. In fact, we participated in it. But then when it comes to the final outcome, when it comes to the computation, when it comes to the mathematics of it
Yeah.
all, we do not want to associate ourselves with it because there is some opaqueness in it. Now it is that opaqueness that now taints the final tally.
Okay.
And if anyone is to move the Supreme Court, actually that will be their, that will be one of their strongest points. Yes.
And speaking about the statement they made, what then effect does it have on the declaration that Chebukati made yesterday?
At the end of the day, the buck stops with Chebukati.
Okay.
At the end of the day, in fact, the law requires of him as the national returning officer to make that declaration within 7 days.
Yeah.
And so, if Chebukati would not have made that declaration as of yesterday, we would be facing a constitutional crisis right now.
Okay.
Because then he is not allowed to declare the results of the president outside the 7 days. Right? And that is why when people were making noise yesterday, I was telling them, hey, look here, Chebukati has a job to do.
Yeah.
And has a constitution to protect. And that is why when he came to the speech that he delivered, the short speech that he delivered before the announcement, he said he swore to protect the constitution. Yes. He took an oath. Right?
Yeah.
And part of the responsibility that he had to do is to ensure that he announces the results of who is the president, whether that result is false, whether that result is is true or not. Whether he was going, whether Chebukati would have woken up yesterday and said that His Excellency Ruto got 10 votes and Raila got 7 votes. For as long as there's an announcement, the validity or otherwise of it would have been determined by another body, that is the Supreme Court, right? But then he had a responsibility. So insofar as that one is concerned, the buck stops with him.
All right.
The sentiments by the commissioners, that one will be interrogated later. Because in any event, they do not have the responsibility of making that announcement. The only thing that they could have done is what they did yesterday. Say, hey, look here, an announcement is going to be made, but then we do not entirely agree. And not agreeing with the final result is something that is normal. I'll tell you. I'll give you a very good example. Even in the presidential election petition of 2017, not all judges agreed with the final outcome, right? There were 2 or 3 judges who disagreed, but then it is the majority whose voice is going to carry the day, right? So disagreement is not something that is that is so abnormal. It's something that is very normal. So and especially in an institution where we have intellectuals, in an institution where we have people who are learned, and the 7 of them, you do not necessarily expect. The ideal situation is that both of them, all the 7 of them will agree. But then if they don't agree, they behave like these ones behaved, and then now the effect of their declaration or of their pronouncements then will have to be determined by some other institution, that is the court. Yes.
All right, so us seeing a very clear division of the commissioners, 4 of them saying they're not part of the declaration. Of course, Wafula Chebukati at the Bomas alone saying that 2 of his other commissioners were injured. That's why they were not able to be present. What then does that portray to Kenyans about the commission? This is a commission that has been entrusted with the whole electoral process.
Yes. You see, all along, and even as the IEBC issued pressers pre-election, we saw a very united commission, right?
Yeah.
You'd see all the commissioners when there is a presser, all the commissioners flanking the the IEBC chairman, plus even the CEO, and all. So as at that point, we knew all was okay, all was good. Until now, the last minute, right? So probably there may have been other underlying issues that they wouldn't have wanted, to come to the fore. Probably they effectively managed it in-house, and ultimately probably things were boiling down, and that is why we now have the final. At the final end, now things coming out to play in the in public. But then I would want to presume, very honestly, probably it was like a knee-jerk reaction. I would want to probably believe that all was rosy until the very last minute.
All right.
Insofar as the way the commission has conducted itself during this whole electoral process, I would want to say that their conduct was very impressive. It actually exuded a lot of confidence.
Indeed.
It made Kenyans really believe in the process until the very last minute. So I'm very sure, and most Kenyans are asking the same question that you are asking, and I'm very sure it is a question that is going to be asked even at the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I was having a discussion with a colleague of mine yesterday, and I was telling them, are they potential witnesses in the Supreme Court in the event that matter is filed in the Supreme Court?
Yeah.
Do they have the capacity of filing affidavits in support of their position? And if they were to file affidavits in support of their position, how is the court going to perceive their evidence? Is it going to perceive them as hostile witnesses in an institutions where we've given them the mandate?
Yeah.
What speaks to the independence of that particular commission? Because remember, at the end of the day, it's an independent commission,
yes,
right? So what then speaks of the independence of that particular institution? So those are several questions that then the court will have to make a decision on. That here is because definitely, if a petitioner goes to court, the IEBC will be a respondent, right? Now we have a respondent, and probably if these commissioners who have an issue with the final tally or the final vote would come in to put in affidavits to support the petitioner who is now going against the independent commission. How does it play out?
Right.
How does it play out?
Right.
So it's something that will be a bit messed up, but then it's something that we have to deal with, because then if we don't address it right now, it is something that it's something that we are bound to face even in subsequent elections. Yes.
Right. Even as we are speaking and referring to the press that they gave yesterday, the 4 commissioners, I think let's have a look at it. Then we'll continue with the discussion. Of course, looking at them saying that the final stage was opaque. Was that a very vague statement? We'll come to that in a few. Let's have a look at it.
As you can see, we are part of the commissioners in the IEBC. We have conducted the 2022 general election, and we have ensured that we have improved the standards, and we have ensured that we have consistently communicated what is happening. And we'll say it for a fact that as the commission, we have done a good job. But some things need to be put out there. As you can see, the 4 of us, we are here, not at Bomas of Kenya, where the results is going to be announced, because of the opaque nature of how this phase has been handled. We therefore cannot take ownership on the results that is going to be announced. However, we have an open door that people can go to court. Because of the same, we urge Kenyans to be peaceful, because the rule of the law is going to prevail.
Juliana Cherera, they're the vice chairperson of the commission,
Yes.
speaking about the opaque nature. To a common Kenyan who's watching, let's talk about opaque. What then does it really mean?
It's actually, she actually talks about the opaque nature of the process at this stage.
Yes.
At this stage.
Yeah.
So I would want to presume, and that one even takes us to the discussion that we've had a few minutes ago. where the commission, from where I sit and from the understanding that I have of that particular statement, is that the four commissioners do not generally have a problem with the process until this stage. I would want to understand what stage that one is. And from what I can pick from the statement by the vice chair, is that the announcing of the results at the constituency level, they have no problem with it.
All right.
The opaqueness is to the extent of the summation, the collation, the computation.
Yeah.
That is where there is opaqueness. Because insofar as the announcement of the results coming from the constituency level, they actually do not have a problem with it.
Right.
So it is at the stage of doing the computation that there is opaqueness. I don't know whether this and I wasn't in Bomas, but I would want to presume that there was a team dedicated, a team of men and women of this country that was dedicated in doing, they were seated in some calculators somewhere or with some computers somewhere, and they were doing, they were summing up these figures as they were coming in. I would want to presume that is where the opaqueness comes in.
All right.
That is where the opaqueness comes in. And that is where the commissioners, the four commissioners, are a bit jittery about. So it is at that stage. And it makes me ask one question. If any petition is to approach Mr. Ashur to represent them or to file a petition on their behalf, probably what are the remedies that I'll be looking for in court? If either of the commissioners, because they've said that the rule of law must prevail, and the rule of law, and they're even giving Kenyans the options that they have, and they're telling them that part of the options that they have is to approach the court, right? So if they are to approach the court, and as petitioners, and the remedies that they would be seeking from the court then would be that they want a recount of the votes.
All right.
Because a recounting of the votes then would lead to a fresh computation of the results. So that then we are going to bring all the Form 34As and bring all the Form 34Bs. And then we look at is what was presented at the constituency tallying center the same as are the results that were computed at the constituency tallying center the same as the ones that were contained in Form 34As, right? And then because it is at the constituency center, that the constituency tallying center, that then they were relayed to the national tallying center. So we just want to look at it is the final process that has been questioned, that people have an issue with, and especially the commissioners. So insofar as ascertaining who exactly is the winner of this election, then we are not faulting the voting process at the polling center. We are not, according to them, they are not faulting the Form 34As. According to them, it is okay. But then it is the vagueness at this stage, at the very last stage, at the point of computation, summation of all these results. And one would presume that in any event that should be the easiest thing. As in, if you're given for one Form 34A and it has 100 votes and the other one has 100, it's 100 plus 100, and that is 200. It should be a pretty simple exercise. But then it would appear like they may not want to come out. The commissioners may not want to come out very expressly and implicate the commission for which they are working for, and probably say that there was that there was alteration of those results. that probably whatever it is that was announced is not whatever it is that was collected. You know, they may not want to come out very expressly, because then they would appear like they are working at cross purposes, and probably you know, you remember that time when let me just give an example. You remember that time when President Uhuru came out and said that there is rampant corruption in the country and he doesn't know what to do about it. And Kenyans are asking themselves, but you're the president.
Yes. Right.
So if you as the president is complaining, then what are we supposed to be doing? What are we supposed to be doing as Kenyans? So it is the same thing that is happening with the commissioners. So if they come out and say, if they'll come out and say that that there was manipulation of the vote at the last stage, the question that Kenyans will be asking them is that, what did you do about it? I mean, come on, that is the work that we've employed you to do. That is why you are commissioners. That is why we thought that you are competent to be holding those offices. You're supposed to be doing that work for you. You are supposed to be doing that work on our behalf, because you are holding that office in trust for us. Right. But then now, if you're holding that position in trust for us, and you're coming out and you're telling us that that there was manipulation, where were you when the manipulation was happening? Right? Because in the commission, you hold one of the highest offices. You are the commissioners. So they may not have come out to say that that the vote was altered, that probably there was manipulation of the final vote. But even from their demeanor, from their conduct, you could clearly see that that is what they just failed to tell Kenyans, that it is alteration of the final vote that they were speaking to, that it was manipulation of that vote that they were speaking to. So when they come in and they tell us that it was opaque, in fact, their statement is in itself opaque. Yeah, that statement by itself is opaque. Yeah. Then, you know, they're not coming out quite clearly. If an innocent Kenyan like me would come out and they say that they want to contest the elections on the basis of the opaqueness of their statement, then I would go to court and say that the body that we tasked with the responsibility of carrying out a free, fair, and verifiable election has itself come and it is not confident in its final result. And on that basis alone, we cannot authenticate the final tally that has come out from the commission. That in and by itself is reason good enough for the Supreme Court to invalidate the final tally.
All right. Speaking about the conduct of the Azimio la Umoja agents yesterday, of course, we'll come back to the commissioners and their statement, as well as look at Chebukati, who claims that he was intimidated. Let's talk about the conduct yesterday. We see there was a bit of a commotion right there. Yeah, Chebukati had to be taken away very fast by security. But as he said, he had to make the announcement of the declaration yesterday. So he came back later on. But let's talk about chief agent of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, Ole Kanchori, as well as Senator Ledama Olekina and other Azimio la Umoja affiliates who caused commotion at the Bomas of Kenya, speaking about the Bomas of Kenya is a scene of crime. Yeah. What does that mean? Are we expecting a petition from them?
I don't know. I have few of my friends who are who are very who are in the ODM legal team. As of this morning, when I was having a discussion with them, they were a bit cagey about whether they intend to prefer an election petition or not. I would want to believe it's a decision that probably the party will come up with in the course of the day today. The conduct by the ODM chief agent and their supporters at Bomas was really or quite uncalled for, because in any event it wouldn't have changed anything.
All right.
It wouldn't have changed anything. Causing a commotion, bringing war on the plenary at Bomas will not have changed anything. Like I've told you yesterday, the law enforcement agencies of this country, who all of them have been, have sworn to protect the integrity of this country and even of the constitution, knew that Chebukati had a role to play. And that is why you saw when Chebukati came in the second time, he was flanked. I think the dais there, apart from the religious leaders, 90% of the people who were seated on that dais were security men. because they knew that Chebukati has a duty to perform on that particular day and at that particular time. So creating commotion and throwing chairs like I saw at Bomas yesterday was totally uncalled for. It speaks to probably people who are not prepared for the final process. All that shouting game and saying that that the Bomas of Kenya had suddenly become a crime scene or a scene of crime. That one, it's like someone who it's like someone who is prosecuting their case in public, in the public gallery, which really doesn't amount to much. It's something that has been done before. It hasn't led to anything substantive. What the chief agent ought to have done is to make formal complaints, and they had that latitude. Make formal complaints. In fact, the role, and the courts have decided this. The courts have made that determination previously, and they've said that agents and chief agents are the eyes of the candidates. They perform a very critical role insofar as the electoral process is concerned. And so the chief agent and generally the agents of the different candidates within Bomas had a very specific role to ensure that the process goes smoothly and that the integrity of the process is guaranteed. If you are not comfortable about the integrity of that process, you have an avenue of complaining to the commission.
Right.
So if you asked me, as of yesterday in the evening, I'm very sure no formal complaint had been made to the commission by the Azimio team. And so it will become what then they will be preparing to submit to the Supreme Court in the event that they will go to the Supreme Court, is that then they will now start collecting, I think they'll start collecting videos, probably something like that, where they'll be saying that, you see, our agent is here, he was complaining. He even went to the microphone and declared that Bomas was. But then insofar as following the proper channels of complaint is concerned, they just ought to have sat down and raised their complaints formally and written to the IEBC chair or one of the commissioners formally and tell them, we are not very happy with the way the process is being undertaken here. We are not very happy with the way we have so many agents interacting with the clerks. We do not have the confidence that this process will be carried out properly if there is close proximity between the agents of our opponents and officer 1, 2, 3. Yeah. But then I'm very sure such complaints were not made. So it makes their work very difficult in the event that then they would decide that they want to approach the court, because remember at the end of the day that the courts will only be persuaded by the law and the courts will be persuaded by evidence. If you do not bring the evidence to the court, unfortunately, the court will tell you you never tendered enough evidence. And remember that the courts have put the threshold quite high in issues of especially presidential petition. Right. They are going. The fundamental question that they will be asked is: was the conduct that you are alleging was the conduct that you are faulting, was it so grave that it materially it materially affected the final outcome? Because the courts have ruled before that the electoral process in one instance or the other may be affected by scenes of violence here and there. And they have even said that is the reason why security officers are sent to the polling stations or to the various stations by government, because they anticipate that there will be violence here and there. But then the question is, did the violence or is the act that you are complaining about, was it so rampant that it had the potential or it potentially affected the final outcome? Then if you can't answer that question, you will get into the courts and you will come out empty-handed. Yes.
Speaking of, in the event of a petition, can the IEBC then use the conduct of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya chief agents in their defense?
Of course they will. Definitely they will. Definitely they will. Let me tell you one thing about cases.
Yeah.
When it comes to cases, I would want to believe that you followed the election petitions, the 2017 election petition. They bring evidences in lorries and in pickups, and they even bring trolleys from the Supreme Court to help them carry those materials from their trucks. What ordinarily happens is that the petitioners and the respondents bring anything and everything to the court. They slap the court with every evidence and leave it for the court to make the determination.
Yeah.
So even the conduct of the chief agent will be brought to the attention of the court.
All right.
The conduct of the clerks will be brought to the attention of the court. The conduct of Chebukati himself. You question anything and everything, because you see, you at the end of the day do not really know what the judges are going to consider in coming up with their final outcome. Whatever evidence that you think may be minute or may not be relevant may actually be the evidence that saves the day.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, when we are preparing for cases, is that we tell our clients, bring to us everything. It is not your responsibility to start saying that this evidence is relevant and this evidence is irrelevant. We go with one principle. You can't set your own exams and mark it. You just set the exam. Let the judges mark it and see whether your exam is or rather your results are meritorious or not. So they'll bring all manner of things, both from the polling station to the polling centers to the constituency returning the constituency tallying centers. They'll bring all manner of evidence. It is the responsibility of the court then to sieve through that evidence and then make a determination from it.
Okay.
Yes.
So we've seen the 4 commissioners talk about the opaque nature.
Yes.
Wafula Chebukati yesterday, of course, before making the declaration of the president-elect, spoke about intimidation that he's been facing. Let's have a look at that before we come back and talk about that.
Right now, 2 of my commissioners and the CEO are injured. Of course, they are being treated. We have staff who have been profiled. There's a staff, a returning officer in Bakassi West, who disappeared while on duty. We have staff who have been arbitrarily arrested for no reasons. We don't know where they are. Some from this National Tallying Center. But we have a constitutional duty to perform. And that's why I stand before you today, despite intimidation, harassment. I took an oath of office to serve this country. And I've done my duty in accordance with the Constitution.
All right, Wafula Chebukati right there speaking that he has taken an oath and he's there to do his duty.
Yes.
And to protect the Constitution. Of course, looking at the other side of the 4 commissioners, speaking of the opaque nature, here's Wafula Chebukati speaking about being intimidated, going ahead and making the declaration. What can we read from all of that?
The constitutional duty to perform does not only vest on Chebukati. Actually, all the 4, they are all the 7 commissioners have a constitutional duty.
Right.
They all of them saw the oath of office, and they took oath to protect the Constitution. So much as Chebukati would want to come out and tell Kenyans that he has a constitutional duty to perform, which is entirely true. He has a constitutional duty to announce the results. But when it comes to verifying those results before the announcing, it is actually a collective responsibility, and the courts have ruled as much. If you look at the IEBC versus Maina Kiai case of 2017, the court was very categorical, and it said that and let me just paraphrase it. It said that the responsibility of collecting, tallying, and the final announcement of the results is not something that should be left to the chairman of the IEBC alone. It is a collective responsibility, and even in this petition that is going to be subjected to the Supreme Court, actually the guiding law insofar as the announcement of the result is concerned is the IEBC versus the Maina Kiai case, and you will see it future majorly if anyone is going to court, because the ultimate result is supposed to be a result that is generally agreed by the commissioners. And in that particular case, the court actually faulted Chebukati, because as at that time Chebukati was still the IEBC chair. It faulted him for having carried the results like they were his baby.
Okay.
And the court was very categorical that the results is that the results is something that is supposed to be owned by all the commissioners. So when the IEBC chair comes out and says that he has a constitutional mandate to perform, just like I've said, it is entirely true. He has a constitutional mandate to announce the results as of yesterday, because that is when the 7 days were lapsing. As to whether those results were fair results, whether they were true, whether they were false, that one is entirely on another institution of this country to make a determination on. But then insofar as the announcing of the results is concerned, he's very right.
All right.
He had a constitutional duty to do that. And he had to do that. Just like I've said, if he wouldn't have done that by yesterday, right now we would be talking of a totally different thing in this country. Something else, totally different.
All right.
Yes.
We cannot end today's program without talking about the aspect of religion in yesterday's very anticipated and awaited moment from the choir. Of course, Kenyans speaking about that. But let's look at the Archbishop of the ACK Church, Jackson Ole Sepit, speaking and, of course, praying. A lot of Kenyans have come out on social media to attack him, if I might put it that way, and call him biased as well. But before I get to hear your views on that, let's listen into what he had to say yesterday.
This is the moment Kenya has been waiting for. The nation has been anxious, but we want to urge all Kenyans, let us now put our anxiety aside. The Bible says the end of a matter is better than the beginning. We want to urge the country to remain united. We have families to look after, an economy to grow, children who will go back to school. We want our nation back. Let us all pray together. Heavenly Father, here we stand before you as a nation of Kenya.
Right. Archbishop Jackson Ole Sepit yesterday, of course, let's talk about the role of religion and his presence. And when you're speaking about religion, it's the Christian religion, because we didn't hear any other religious leader praying or just giving a statement. And could we say he was biased out of his statement? He
starts by saying that this is the moment that Kenyans have been waiting for.
Right.
And he proceeds to say that there was a lot of anxiety, and ultimately then we have gotten to a place where we, the results have to be announced. As at the time when that statement is made, of course, Kenya is divided.
Right.
Remember that even from the results themselves, We have candidate who's achieved 50% plus a few more votes on top of it. And we have another candidate who's achieved 48%. These are candidates. If you look at the final tally, the difference between the votes is around 150,000 votes, which in a population of 50 million Kenyans, and you're talking about 150,000 votes, that is a very, that is like a drop in the ocean.
Right.
So we have a country that is already divided. And one side of the political divide is jubilated, and they want, they just want these results to be announced, because from the body language of the candidates there, even from their supporters, it appeared quite evidently that the announcement was going William Samoei Ruto's way. And then we have the other side of Kenyans who the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga isn't there. His running mate Martha Karua is not in the room, and all the big wigs in Azimio. So definitely it appeared, as at the time when this statement was being made, that the vote was going in a particular direction. So it is expected, and it is humanly normal that Kenyans would react in a particular way, in the way that they reacted. What the commission ought to have done, for purposes of balance, because I would want to presume that Olasapit made that statement on behalf of the other religious leaders. I think they have a conference. Is it the Episcopal conference of something, of churches or something like that? So probably he did that on behalf of that whole conference of churches and all that. But then probably what we ought to have seen, probably like happens in, because you see this was a national function. What we ought to have seen is that probably would have someone professing the Hindu, the Hindu religion, would have had someone professing the Islamic religion, coming in just so that we have a balance. But the fact that we only had him as the only person who addressed, who addressed and of course prayed for the nation before then Chebukati came onto the podium, then he is bound to take, he's bound to take all those slaps that are coming in from Kenyans.
Yes.
So if probably we had four other religious leaders, then probably they would have shared the slaps in equal measure. But because he was the only one, yeah, he was the only one. So the reaction by Kenyans is human. Okay. It is expected, and I can assure you it will fade off with time.
And forgotten.
Yeah, and forgotten. Kenyans are only reacting in the heat of the moment.
All right.
It will fade out.
Okay.
It will fade out.
As we end today's program, having spoken about it all, here comes the question, legally speaking,
yes.
What's next?
Legally speaking, whoever is aggrieved with the outcome of the election petition has to petition court within 7 days. Yeah. From the date of announcement. So the day the time starts running today. They have 7 days. That is if they're going to petition, and I can assure you Kenyans are going to petition, even if it is not His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga that is going to petition. Yes. Kenyans are going to petition. Right. We've adopted a culture as Kenyans. We become very litigious. We go to court for anything and everything. So some Kenyan is going to need to petition. In the event that no one is going to petition, then the IEBC has 7 days to notify. Has 7 days to notify. Has 7 days to notify the Supreme Court. Not the Supreme Court, but the President. Okay. Of the outcome of the results, and within 14 days, then the President-elect is supposed to be sworn in. Yes. So if they go to court 7 days, and then the Supreme Court has 14 days to make a determination on it, and if the Supreme Court makes a determination that they are invalidating the vote, then they have 60 days to conduct a fresh election. Yes.
Speaking of that, do you think we have that budget of a fresh election?
Yes. We have a budget. You know, you see the way government behaves, or the way government works, is that when they're budgeting for a process, they budget for any for any eventuality.
All right.
So that budget is there. Let Kenyans not worry about the budget. The budget is there.
Okay.
It's not like now IEBC will now be requesting for funds. The funds are there. Yeah, they prepared for a full length process. Yes.
All right, briefly touch on this, because I saw Kenyans discussing it on social media. Of course, during their tenure, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto, there's a very evident rift. Here comes President-elect William Ruto.
Yes.
Kenyans are very funny people, because they've been saying there is no way President Uhuru Kenyatta will hand over power to him. Speaking of the military, are these just talks from innocent Kenyans who are not aware of how things go, or is it a possibility?
It's an innocent talk.
Okay.
Very innocent. Very innocent. If you look at what happened even at Bomas yesterday, immediately President Ruto was declared as the president-elect. Even his security arrangement changes immediately.
Immediately, right.
And even if all his homes, all his installations, everything, it changes completely. So on the issue of, and remember, at the end of the day, the army is non-partisan. So at the end of the day, whoever is declared as the president, they will have no obligation. They don't want to get into all that politics. For as long as person X has been declared as the president, there will be change of power. The talk by Kenyans is just like you said, it is innocent talk. Yes.
Okay, your final words to Kenyans right now that we have a president.
Stay calm. I've been in town this morning. Things are a bit slow, but then that is very normal. It's expected in the circumstances. Let us wait for the due processes to take place. We have timelines for everything to take place. We are hopeful that the calmness that was experienced yesterday after the declaration of the results, the calmness that we have experienced in the night and even this morning and until right now that we are talking, that the calmness will prevail until ultimately we swear in the new commander-in-chief.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I
Karibu
appreciate
sana.
it indeed. And to you, dear viewer, thank you as well for tuning in to Kirk Mid-Morning. My name is Faith Kaulo. Keep watching Kirk TV.